Hello. Welcome to the More You Know podcast. I'm your host, Richland 2 School Superintendent, Dr. Kim Moore. Today, we are talking all about AVID. Now, I know you've heard that term, parents, but what does it actually mean? So AVID stands for Advancement via Individual Determination. It fosters a safe and open culture, high expectations for teachers and students, and collaboration in all classrooms. AVID's mission is to close the opportunity gap by preparing all students for college and career readiness, as well as success in a global society. So each year, AVID trains more than 40,000 teachers, administrators, and other school staff at 12 different summer institutes, which take place across the country. An exciting part of this training is on day number 2 for the general session, where all of the participants hear moving success stories from an educator, speaker, as well as 2 student speakers. So last year, our very own principal, Kimberly Hutcherson, who is at the Center for Achievement, was chosen as the keynote educator speaker at the Summer Institute. Guess what? We are super excited to announce right here on the podcast today that a Richland 2 student was just selected as keynote student speaker in Tampa, Florida next month. Now, I know, parents, you're thinking, it must be one of our outstanding high school students, right? No. One of our exceptional middle school students? No. It is one of our fabulous, brilliant, exceptional elementary students. So today, we will welcome to the podcast Jeffrey McMickens, Richland 2's AVID coordinator, Benjamin Jackson, the fabulous principal at Forest Lakes Elementary, and my very special guest, Isaiah Holland, a 5th grade student and Richland 2's first ever AVID Summer Institute student speaker. Welcome, Isaiah.
Thank you for having me.
Are you excited?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, Isaiah, you and I were talking in the hallway.
Yes, ma'am.
And you were talking a little louder in the hallway when you were talking about the NBA. I need that NBA voice for our podcast today, because I want everybody to see your brilliance and to hear your brilliance, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. There it is. So, Isaiah, I have some questions for you today. And the first question is going to be an easy one. So tell us who you are and why you decided to enter the contest.
Well, my name is Isaiah Hollins, and why I decided to enter the contest was really because Mr. Jackson pulled me after lunch, my teacher, my principal right here. He pulled me after lunch and asked me a few questions, like who brought me where I am today, and he asked me, he said that he was going to enter me in an average speaker contest, and then I accepted it. And then I didn't even know what the average speaker contest was. I just said yes because he's my principal. So I didn't know anything about what I won. I didn't know anything about. I barely even knew about AVID before I entered the contest. And now that I'm here today, I didn't know any of this was going to happen. I didn't know I'd be on a podcast. I didn't know about Tampa Bay Institute. I didn't even know that there were. I didn't even know if AVID was I didn't even know about AVID.
Well, that's fascinating. You just did this because your principal asked you to do it, and you saw the fact that you recognized the fact that he saw something in you that would indicate that he thought you could do this. What did he see? How did he know that you would be willing to speak in front of 2,000 people at this institute?
I honestly don't know. That's a question for Mr. Jackson.
Well, let's ask Mr. Jackson that question.
That's a great question. So, just thinking about Isaiah and his journey, and the biggest thing with AVID that stands out to me is opportunity. And ever since Isaiah joined the Forest Lake family, it was a spark. You can always see personality. You can see the intelligence. You can see he was friendly. He was a people person, and it was just always something about Isaiah. And just think about all of the different times where he may get in trouble or the teacher may have to talk to him. Mr. Jackson, can you just talk to him? But it was always something special about Isaiah. And even when he would be in trouble, I was like, man, you know better. He would just give me that smile. Yes, sir. It was always respectful. But I asked him that day in the cafeteria, what changed for you? What changed in your journey? Just think about from kindergarten all the way up to 5th grade, what things impacted you for each grade level? Yeah, he just started naming things, whether it was this teacher. One thing Miss Higgins told me was, you want to tell them?
Oh, yes. Miss Higgins told me at the end of the school year when I asked her to sign my yearbook, the last sentence was, Isaiah, I love you, I get you, and you get me. Your teacher, Miss Higgins. And that just stood out to me because even though it was clear that teachers knew that about me or like they felt that way about me, I've just never had a teacher downright or outright say that to me. So that's what made that so special, and I think that's what kept me out of trouble the last 2 years.
Oh, wow. I think that's pretty awesome that your teacher would say that to you. And more importantly, that you recognize that your teachers, while they may not say it to you all the time, they do care for you and do love you and want what's best for you. And the fact that your principal noticed that in you, Isaiah, I have to say, I agree with you. When I met Isaiah, he was just as charming as we see today.
Thank you.
But he was also just that smile. I told him he had a beautiful smile, because that smile just, no matter what, I bet for his parents, it's like, don't smile at me, Isaiah, you're in trouble. I need you're in trouble. Don't give me the smile, because the smile probably gets you out of a lot of things.
No.
No?
No. No. That just get me into more trouble.
It gets you into more trouble. Well, that's good. So Isaiah, did you realize that there was a cash prize along with this wonderful trip to Tampa, Florida?
No, I didn't even read the paper that Mr. Jackson gave me until after I finished writing the speech. And when I read the awards, I was like, $500? I can do a lot with $500. Okay, I really hope I win this now. I want my $500.
So what do you plan to spend the $500 on?
I told him, and it's crazy. He asked me what I was going to spend my money on this new show that we have at school, and then I said, spend it on shoes.
Shoes?
Yes.
How many pair of shoes?
Probably like only 2, and that's about, $200, so I still have $300 left. Probably spend the rest on maybe give me a credit card, another suit.
What? No credit card, Isaiah. Listen, you're going to get some words of advice here. We are not going to spend all $500 on shoes and credit cards and video games. We are going to save half of that money.
Half, okay.
$250 has to be saved, okay? And then, of course, you'll talk with your parents about what you do with the other half of the $250.
Yes, ma'am.
Right?
Yes,
So
ma'am.
when my children were young, they had a bank account, and they would take their allowance, the first 10%, because I'm a woman of faith, went to our church, and then next they had to put the 10% in savings, and then we talk about what are you going to spend the rest of the money on.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay? Shoes. You must think you're me. I spend money on shoes. But that's different. We're not talking about me. We're talking about you. So Here's my next question for you, Isaiah. Share your future aspirations as it relates to education and careers.
Okay, I talked about this to you earlier. One of my career, no, not my career, my education, I want to graduate high school with a scholarship to UNC in Charlotte, North Carolina. And I want to graduate to UNC with my bachelor's degree in business and administration. And then as far as careers, one of my, well, I'll give you two because I need a backup plan. I want to be an NBA player, and I want to play for either the Denver Nuggets, Golden State Warriors, or the Los Angeles Lakers. My Los Angeles Lakers is my personal favorite. But my backup plan would be, because I have my MBA, I would probably become a business owner, an accountant, or a businessman.
Okay. Well, we're not going to talk about the teams that you chose because right now, all three of those teams could use your help, Isaiah, if you were just a little bit taller, and maybe a little bit older. So, because even Denver's struggling right now. They're down 2 to the Timberwolves. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Yes, they are. The defending champs are down. But we're not going to talk sports. That's be something you and I can talk later.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
So I'm going to now turn the conversation over to your principal because he seemed to have a very big part in you getting to this point where
Yes,
you're
he
going to
has.
be
Yes,
speaking.
he has.
So share with us what made you encourage Isaiah. You talked a little bit about the growth that you've seen over the last 5, from kindergarten to 5th grade for Isaiah. And then what is the advantage of this opportunity for Isaiah?
That's a great question. So the advantage of this opportunity, it gives Isaiah the platform to really tell his story. And one thing that Isaiah even said earlier, he said, I just want kids to understand that I'm just a normal kid. And we had to remind them. So when we remind them, no, you are more than just a normal kid. Yes, you want to set the example, but you are doing something amazing that every kid doesn't have the opportunity to do. We want to encourage them to do, but you have the chance to really tell your story. And when we were sitting there talking, I got goosebumps at the response that he would give me to the different questions that I would ask. And one thing that you also said was that your teachers started making learning fun for you. They started being more hands-on after COVID, because you say COVID kind of threw you off. You couldn't talk to anybody. You couldn't really take the learning into your own hands, which is great. But he understood that he was a learner that had to be active or engaged in the learning experience. And that's exactly what AVID also does for students. It pushes those best practices and really puts the learning back to give that student advocacy. So proud of them.
I really love that because one of the hallmarks of AVID is advocacy. Teaching students how to advocate for themselves and take ownership and responsibility for their learning. And so, Jeff, I want to turn this next question over to you because in Richland 2, what does AVID actually look like in our classroom so parents have an understanding of what AVID means?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the question. So AVID, I would kind of equate to being the thread that ties everything together. We have, upwards of 39, 40 different schools, centers, and other places in our district that you can learn. And so one of the things that's really a remarkable piece of AVID is making sure that students are getting best practices and high yield strategies. So when Isaiah had said earlier, I wasn't really sure what AVID was, it really just looks like good teaching. So for your parents and those who might be new and new families asking and wondering what Richland 2 does with AVID, it really looks like best teaching is what I would explain to a parent on the outside looking into Richland 2.
As a high school principal, I had AVID on my campus. And yes, high school students, Isaiah, participate in AVID. And I saw exactly what you're talking about. The strategies that we used in the AVID classroom, we used in our English class, our math classes, our social studies classes, and our science classes, as well as our electives.
Absolutely.
Because those are just best practices and strategies that work across the board with all students. So in Richland 2, how has AVID evolved?
It's changed drastically. So we were the first, Richland 2 was the first site in all of South Carolina in 1998. So I think we're on 25, 26 years doing AVID. It started at the high school in just one classroom, in the elective classroom actually, giving students those opportunities for advocacy, for opportunity knowledge, giving them those best teaching practices. And what's happened in the last 10 years in Richland 2 is we have moved not just to be in one classroom, but to move school-wide, meaning that it happens across content areas, special education classes, your related arts, and it has trickled down from there into, of course, our middle schools, and then now Isaiah and students at the elementary level are getting access to those high-yield strategies, those Wicker practices to work on writing and inquiry, collaboration, organization, and reading in any grade level in any class. And so sometimes students might not even realize, oh, wait, that was an AVID strategy, because their teachers have infused them into the teaching practices that they have in the classrooms, and it's producing great results, as we can see here today with
Yes,
Isaiah.
it is. And Isaiah, I have just 2 more questions for you. The first is, what is your favorite subject? I hope it's science, but it's okay if it's not.
Well, sorry to disappoint you, but my favorite subject is actually social studies.
Why social studies?
I just love talking about history and like how people got to this, like where we are today, like what shaped the earth, what shaped America, and especially African American history. It's basically my favorite type of history, and most of my projects in school have been on African Americans.
Have you thought about possibly being a teacher?
Not really. It never really crossed my mind until
Okay,
now.
well, I'm planting that seed right now. I know the MBA is where you want to go.
Yes, ma'am.
But, you can also come back into the classroom and be a teacher as well as a business owner at the same time. Okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So here's my last question. Now, I don't want you to say your whole speech because we got to keep people wanting more. But can you just give us a little taste of what you're going to be talking about in your speech? Just a few points.
Like Mr. Jackson said earlier, it talks about like how COVID threw me off and how it like settled me, and like how I'm like more grounded, because during COVID there was really nothing to like do. Like everything was virtual. If it wasn't virtual, we weren't doing anything at all. So like before COVID, when I hit COVID in 2nd grade, before COVID, I was always like around the place, always talking, always like wanting to do something with learning. Like I couldn't just be writing. Like if we were doing like some kind of like, I don't know, say we were doing an experiment with like how to add 5 + 5. Like if they just wanted us to write it, I would like want to be like, can we just like get some blocks and do 5 + 5 with the blocks? And then so they would say, no, you have to write it on paper. Then I was like, oh. So, but during COVID, everything was virtual. So like I was always typing on the computer, or like moving the mouse to click this, moving the mouse to click that. So like it just, and then we really couldn't talk to anybody. Really the only person we had like we were able to talk to was the teacher. And then there was like one time like at the end of the class period where we were able to like chat time for like 10 minutes, and then by the time dismissal came, or would have come if we were actually in school, we would just like, I don't know, like chat, talk, but that didn't really help. But when we came back, I was like, okay, I know I'm probably not gonna have the chance to do this on like with my hands, so I better be prepared. But they actually did give us like more opportunities to do more hands-on activities.
We call those manipulatives. See, you're a teacher already, Isaiah, because you're like, can I use 5 blocks and 5 blocks? And we still had to write it down because we have to do both. So that's fascinating. So I'm excited because I can't wait to hear your speech in Tampa. And hopefully I will be there to introduce you on the big stage and to help you not be nervous, okay?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. So any final words of wisdom to your fellow fifth graders who are moving up to the sixth grade. It's a captive audience right now, Isaiah. The mic is yours.
I think my final words be, you could basically do anything. Like, I know they said I'm not the average kid, even though I still feel like I am, but if I could get here today, then you could probably get here too.
What does it take to get here?
Hard work,
Hard work.
all day, every day.
All day, every day. See, that's what makes you not the average fifth grader. Because the average fifth grader would have said, well, hard work, a lot of play, a little more hard work, more play. But you said hard work, a lot of hard work, every day, every day. So I just want to thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for being our guest today, but more importantly, thank you for representing Richland too, because you will be speaking in front of 2,000 people, telling them about the great things that are happening here in Richland 2 School District, at Forest Lake Elementary School, and the brilliance of Isaiah.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
So parents, I hope that you have found our podcast today to be not just inspirational, but informative. As you've heard, you now have a better understanding of what AVID is. Also, I hope you noticed or caught what Jeff said. Richland 2 was the first school district in the entire state of South Carolina to bring AVID into the school district. And now we are not just AVID at a high school or AVID in middle school. We are AVID in elementary school across the entire district, because we know that the strategies that AVID teaches our students will serve them well as they move through their K-12 experience, but also as they move into whether they enroll, enlist, or employ. These are skills that they will need to be successful. So Jeff, I want to say thank you for your hard work in ensuring that AVID is being conducted with fidelity in our schools, so students like Isaiah can have every opportunity to be successful. And I want to thank our wonderful principal, Mr. Jackson,
Yes, ma'am.
for his leadership in recognizing and spotting talent and not being diverted from that talent by minor things like behavior sometimes. You saw the potential in Isaiah, and you knew that we just needed to find ways to bring that potential out. And as a result of that, he won $500, which he's going to save half of, and he's going to be speaking at this national convention. So thank you for your leadership. And Isaiah, thank you for just being you. You are an awesome young man. You look fabulous in your Richland 2 blue. And I know that you are going to excel when you go to Tampa and give your speech.
Thank you.
And if we coordinate, we might be able to both be in Richland 2 blue. If you let me know ahead of time. I don't know if I'll be able to keep up with your shoe game, but I'll try, okay?
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Dr. Kimmore, for having me.
Thank you, Isaiah. You are awesome.
So are you.